What's up everybody, it's Joe with J Blake Photo, and in today's video we're going to be talking about some new details that we've got on some inexpensive entry-level mirrorless cameras coming from Canon in the R series. Before we jump into the video, again, my name is Joseph Blake. This is Joseph Blake Photography, and on this channel we talk about tech, news, and reviews, and specifically about things related to photography, cinematography, drones, action cameras, that kind of stuff. And I have a personal preference for Canon. Well, that's what I shoot with, so that's what we're going to talk about. So in this video, we're going to be talking about two potentially new APS-C inexpensive entry-level cameras coming from Canon. But before we jump into that, if this is the type of thing that you're interested in, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and give this video a like if you think it is deserving of it. It really helps out the channel, and go ahead and turn on that bell notification so that you get notified when I make new videos. So in the last couple of weeks, a lot of the Canon news and rumor sites, as well as Twitter, while it was not being a complete and utter dumpster fire, was reporting on information that we've got out of Canon about potentially new cameras coming. Now, we've been slowly but surely seeing the entire line get rounded out. We've got our mid-range, we've got updates to some of our mid-range with the R6 Mark II. The R5 is just rocking and rolling out there. We've got the R3, which is a beast of a camera, and yet not the flagship. There's still an R1 out there. Another video potentially coming soon with updates on that. But right now, it's the R6, it's the R5, it's the R3, the R7. I think at this point we can say that the R and the RP have been completely supplanted in the lineup, though they're still selling both of those cameras on their website and through retail channels. And then add in the fact that we have the R10, also entry level at the APS-C end with the R7, though the R7 I wouldn't call entry level. Honestly, they've really, in just a few years, really rounded out the mirrorless market that they have coming from Canon. So now we're hearing about even more entry level additions of the RF system in the R100 and the R50. Now, the nomenclature naming scheme that Canon uses has been pretty consistent over time, but when you start getting down into this entry level and you start talking about the R series, which has traditionally been the top tier, and the M series, which is their mirrorless small form factor line, it gets a little muddy. We had the M50 and the M6, and then there were some Mark IIs in there. It gets a little confusing, and my hope is that they will completely replace that with the R line, and the R line will just continue to go down. So the cameras that we are hearing about, the R100, the R50, might be the R1000. Again, if you think about the Canon naming scheme, traditionally, the more numbers, meaning going from 1 digit to 2 digits to 3 digits to 4 digits, you traditionally will find lower end or more entry level specifications, less video features, things of that nature. Especially when you get into that 3 and 4 digit naming scheme, you actually don't normally see that number. Sometimes they'll use the Rebel naming scheme. My first camera was a Rebel XSI, which everywhere else was known as the 450D. But then they also had, the 1000D and the 11,000 or 1100D and 1200D, that sort of thing. And so those names can get a little weird when you get down to that size. But what we're looking at here is something in the R100 and about the R1000 range. At that level, we might not be looking at bodies similar to what we're seeing in the R series. These may be more similar to the M series cameras, meaning smaller, more compact bodies, and maybe smaller batteries. Now we have the R10, and if we get an R50, the assumption is that the R50 would slot in below the R10, whereas an R100 would slot in below that, and an R1000 would slot in below that. So let's pretend for a moment that we're talking about maybe an R50 and an R100, or an R100 and an R1000. Whichever way that they decide to name it, that's going to be region specific, and that's going to be dependent on Canon marketing. That doesn't really have a big impact on the specifications. Those numbers have never specifically related to specs. And the fact that the EOS M50 Mark II has been discontinued in some regions, it's moving away. Again, I think the EFM mount needs to go away, and they just need to have the RF mount everywhere, and that RF APS-C mount, so that we can just let's have one mount with lots of cameras of various sizes and sensor sizes. Now, some things that we think we might be seeing in at least the R100, or this again coming in under the R10, and I'll throw up the specs for the R10. So let's look at the R10, and we'll look at what I'm going to guess is going to be the R100 or R1000 or whatever they end up calling it, right? We have the R10 with a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor. It's powered by the Digic X processor. It's got dual pixel autofocus with people's, animals, vehicle detection, all that stuff baked into dual pixel autofocus. Though it is not the same autofocus system that you have on the R5 and R6, or the improved system that you have on the R6 Mark II or the R3. It's kind of two versions back from that, so it's similar to what you have on the EOS R. It does not have in-body image stabilization in the sensor, just in the lenses, and then it has electronic or digital image stabilization. And with dual pixel autofocus 2 in video mode up to 4K 30, 4K 29.97, with an HDR PQ option where it will bake the 10-bit into the video, though it doesn't shoot log. It will shoot HDR in 10-bit into an H.265 stream. That's kind of cool, right? You can just output HDR directly out of this thing for $800-900. But I mean, it has a 4K 30 frame per second sampled from 6K in this sensor, with the potential to shoot at either 8-bit internal or 10-bit internal with HDR. So now take all those specs from the Canon EOS R10, right, which is a decent size, like a full-size mirrorless body. Take all of that and just smash it down into a little mirrorless M style. Mechanical shooting down to 12 instead of 15 frames per second. Still is going to shoot at 4K 30 for video. Still going to have autofocus, dual pixel autofocus version 2. Same 24.2 megapixel sensor, same Digic X processor. The only thing is it won't come with an EVF. So you might need to, you're going to have to use the very angle screen, that will have a very angle screen, and you might need to slide on an EVF if they're going to do that through the smart connector on the top of the hot shoe, like they've done in previous M series. An R50 or an R100 or whatever they end up calling it, with the exact same specs as the R10, just missing the EVF, smaller package, lightweight package, and less expensive, or maybe the same price, maybe $100 or so less. I wouldn't expect this to be considerably less expensive because of the fact that it's going to be, rocking pretty much the same specs, but minus that EVF, maybe you save $100, $150. And if they pass that savings on to you, instead of $897, $900, you're paying $750. If this came in at $749 or $799, with those specs, that would be such a fun and awesome little travel camera, little pocket cam for backpacking, or for, honestly, that would be phenomenal, both for stills and for video. That's a cool little camera and a great package. Now below that, if we start talking about the R1000 or whatever they call it, that we'll call it the Rebel, I'm not sure what they can remove from the package to make it less expensive. Maybe it doesn't get dual pixel autofocus, although that's such a signature item for Canon cameras. I really just can't imagine them doing that. My only assumption is that maybe that they would slow down the shutter speed or reduce maximum frame rate. If the R100 or the R50 is going to have something like 12 frames per second mechanical, call it 20 frames per second electronic, what if this one has 8 frames mechanical and 15 electronic? Toss out the HDR PQ option on the video side. Those are the types of things that I think they might be able to pull out of the camera to effectively make it a little bit less expensive, brand it as a Rebel, and then sell effectively the same body. Like, I would think that they would be the same camera with that smaller battery and, single SD card slot, make it a little bit smaller, maybe don't allow it to be upgraded with an EVF, because at that point you really have to make it a big push. It's got to be great. And the reason for that is that this exists. This is a 14 Pro Max from Apple. This is an amazing phone. 4K cinema mode, very close to what you can get out of an entry-level DSLR or mirrorless camera. So I don't know if that is going to fly, but that's my guess on things like that at maybe $599, maybe $799 in a kit with a lens and some other accessories. That's my thought. Tell me what you think down in the comments about either of these two cameras, but that is what is currently, in the rumor sphere for Canon cameras. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If this is the type of stuff that you're into, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the like button if this is the type of video that you like, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I make new videos. If you're super interested in my content, I will have a membership tier available. It actually should be out when this video comes out. And also you can go ahead and hit the thanks button down there. And that actually helps me more than 1,000 views on this channel. I really appreciate everybody who has subscribed to my channel over the years. And again, thank you so much. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.